What's up, everybody? Let's get into Deadly Deal, where I discuss cards I think have a better chance to rise in value over time. #stonks. I base this off of previous price trends of cards that have similar abilities, as well as other factors. I have MTG stocks pulled up, and I want to speculate on Orochi Soul Reaver in the Outlaws of Thunder Junction Commander Precon. I will be comparing Orochi to a card that has a similar ability, known as Grim Hireling, that has seen a drastic spike in price during its lifespan. Grim Hireling's all-time low was $2.53, which is similar to what Orochi is now at $2.88 average, and the all-time high was $37.47, which happened recently around the launch of Outlaws of Thunder Junction. The reason for the spike, I think, was because of Grim Hireling's creature type is a rogue, which is considered an outlaw, and that is a main mechanic in the set, as well as having other combat-focused commanders in the Thunder Junction precons, such as Felix 5 Boots. So that initial set hype caused this massive spike, which is when you want to sell high in these moments. Grim Hireling's price has since dropped to around $14 in September of 2024, after the initial hype is over, and has since dropped even more due to the card now being featured on the list, which is the cheapest version, currently at $9. With that being said, when you compare the abilities side by side, Orochi Soul Reaver reads 5-1 black, Ninjutsu, 3-1 black, return and unblock attacker you control to hand. Put this card onto the battlefield from your hand, tapped and attacking. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token, and manifest the top card of that player's library. Manifest reads, put it onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature, turn it face up at any time for its mana cost if it's a creature card. And Grim Hireling reads, 3-1 black, whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create 2 treasure tokens. Pay a black, sacrifice X treasures, target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn, activate only as a sorcery. Yes, Grim Hireling has a removal aspect, paying a black, sacrificing X treasures, target a creature given it -X/-X until end of turn. However, that ability isn't used that often because it is not efficient at sorcery speed. In some scenarios, Orochi actually is better getting a 2/2 manifest a creature instead of 1 extra treasure token. And the Ninjutsu is nice as well, sneakily attacking opponents. I can certainly see Orochi taking a similar trajectory with the price increasing over time, as we saw with Grim Hireling slowly increasing, as more people realize that this card is very effective in a multiplayer format like Commander. And then the massive spike happens, which was related to the creature type, and I think Orochi can certainly spike based on the creature type as well, being a ninja, which is a popular typal that could see a new shiny ninja tribal commander in a future set. What is also interesting is Grim Hireling was in the main Boulder Gate set as well as the precon, so it had more of a print run as opposed to Orochi, which is printed exclusively in Thunder Junction precon deck as of now. My assumption based on previous precon cards, Wizards of the Coast tends to not reprint those until a longer period of time has passed before promoting them in future products, because if these precon cards get reprint equity, it will allow the company to more easily entice players to buy packs, knowing there's a chance to pull cards that have value to repay for their initial purchase. I will now give you examples of precon cards with interesting abilities that have shown to perform well in the marketplace. First up, we have Oron Forestfang, 3/2 green. Attacking creatures you control have Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So the all-time low was $1.69, and it quickly rise to around the $4 to $5 range, and then the value plateaued for a little while until the supply and demand caused another increase to $8 range, and then there was a theme that caused a massive spike. The theme, I think, was snow because of Kaldheim being a snow-themed set. Oron is a snow creature. The price spiked to $19.08, which was a good time to sell to get a good rate of return, assuming you bought the card at the $4 to $5 range. And then as we follow the chart even more, you can see it start to dip again in price, and the reason was the announcement of the 2021 Secret Lair. Now with Secret Lairs and the list cards, it does temporarily decrease their value. However, it appears that it's not permanent, meaning, as you can see with this card, yes, it decreased to almost half its value to around $10 range, but then you can see it starts to creep up again as the demand begins to rise. And what I want to point out is we have yet to see a major reprint in a set up until this point. The card was initially printed in Commander 2019, now it's 2023, that's over 4 years of no major reprint, which explains my reason of Commander precon cards being reprinted at a much slower pace. And now we see one last massive spike at around $28. Now finally bringing it into an actual set, which is Commander Masters 2023, causing the price to drastically decrease to what it is now. It has since seen reprints in other sets, so it appears this card will not go back up in value anytime soon. Next up, we have Song of the World Soul. So the all-time low was around 70 cents, which this is a dream scenario. If you can somehow predict that a card will spike at some point due to its ability, when you read the card 4 and 2 white, whenever you cast a spell, populate. To me, that's a powerful effect in certain decks. It wasn't until around 2022 that the card initially risen to around $2 to $3 range, which is still not a good rate of return, so you would want to hold on to it even longer and hope for the best. It would spike again in 2023 to the $6 to $8 range where it is now currently. And once again, this card does not see a reprint at all. And finally, Bone Miser, also in the Commander 2019, as with all three of these cards. This one started off higher, around the $2 to $3 range. It took a little bit less time to get that big spike initially, at around $10, close to July 2022. And once again, the card has yet to see a major reprint. The only reprint is the list, which was back in 2019, around when the card was initially revealed. So these three are good examples of pre-con cards that Wizards of the Coast have waited on so that the value can appreciate over time. So now I will get into some deadly reprints, both in the main Outlaws of Thunder Junction set and the Commander pre-con. I view these cards as simply just good buys for your Commander decks, not so much a return on investment standpoint, because reprints typically stay relatively low in price, and it seems WotC tends to reprint cards in bunches, meaning you might see these cards reprinted in future sets sooner rather than later. First up, we have Command Beacon. Tap, add 1 colorless. Tap, sacrifice Command Beacon. Put your commander into your hand from the command zone. This land was last reprinted back in 2020 in Commander Legends. Before the reprint, $10.50, and the price is currently $6.60. If you do have a deck that your commander has removed a lot from your opponents, it may be a good time to pick up this card since it does avoid the commander tax at least once. Next up, we have Terror of the Peaks. 3 and 2 red, flying. Spells your opponent's cast that target Terror of the Peaks cost an additional 3 life to cast. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Terror of the Peaks deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target. Before the reprint, $42.60. After the reprint, $16.38. As you can see, that is a significant decrease in price. The price hasn't been this low since 2021 core set, which is when this Terror of the Peaks was initially revealed. And the last deadly reprint to highlight is Seize the Spotlight. 2 and 1 red. Each opponent chooses Fame or Fortune. For each player who chose Fame, gain control of a creature that player controls until end of turn. Untap those creatures, and they gain haste until end of turn. For each player who chose Fortune, you draw a card and create a treasure token. Before the reprint, it was $6.09. After the reprint, the Thunder Junction version is now 78 cents. Seize the Spotlight has always been an effective card for me in the past. Whatever mode the opponent votes for, typically you get good value from since it's only 3 mana to cast. It seems most players will choose Fortune, which gives you a card and creates a treasure token. And card draw in general in red is more difficult. This, in my estimation, is almost a staple in every mono red deck, and I recommend trying this card out in a deck. That concludes Daily Deal.